it is the end of 2024. And that means that, and I have finished watching my last movie that I'm going to go see this year. So that means it is time for me to rank all of the movies that I've watched this year. Because I've been keeping track. I have been keeping track. I have watched 43 theatrical releases this year. I'm going to rank some of them. Now, this video, I am going to do the 10 worst, the 10 movies I disliked the most. My personal 10 worst movies of 2024. And I could do 10, I will do the 10 best, but I am still trying to figure out where I'm going to place Nosferatu in that list, which I have just finished watching earlier today. So look out for that video a little bit later on. But as for the 10 worst movies, I already have that list easily put it out. And remember, this is the ones that I like the least. Some of them on there are probably going to be a little bit more controversial. They're just ones that I didn't like that I know a lot of other people did. So that's probably just one on the list, maybe two on the list. But otherwise, I don't think a lot of these are going to be super controversial. I am going to be controversial in my top 10 best movies, I am sure. But let's get into it. Anyways, number 10, we have Godzilla Kong, the New Empire. And this movie, when I watched it, I think this is the best, probably the best out of the Godzilla and Kong movies. Here's the problem with them though. Now, I don't hate Godzilla Kong, the New Empire, but with these movies, they are terrible writing. Like the characters, like the human characters, everything, you really don't care. Like you don't like them at all. Like there's nothing there as far as story-wise that's actually good. Where these movies do shine is the action, but it doesn't allow it enough to be able to kind of reach into the higher heights of the rest of my list. So it ends up coming down into the bottom 10, but just at number 10. Number 9 is RedOne. Now, RedOne isn't. It's a movie. I guess streaming movie is kind of a good term with it. It's a movie that's not exactly good. It's entertaining enough, whereas like it's fine. You know, you get some entertainment out of it just by like some of the action and whatever. But you have The Rock playing The Rock, and you have Chris Evans playing Chris Evans, or at least the jerk version of Chris Evans, the anti-Captain America, if you will. And like, there's not a lot, like the story-wise and everything's not really all that great. You know, you can kind of see that they wanted to do, it's a very blockbustery movie, which if you don't really know what that means, it's basically a movie that's trying to be so much for everybody that it's just kind of meh, you know? It's not that great at all. So it has a lot of that, you know, it costs a lot of money, but also like the CGI is, I mean, at least I should say the North Pole kind of really made me think of like Batman Arkham Origins. It's just like, I can't say it's like super bad, but like just the fogginess of everything and everything like that, it just kind of made me think of that, which I can't say is great, but it's an enjoyable enough movie. It's a movie that, you know, probably a good percentage of the population might just turn on and be like, oh yeah, this is fun, and then forget about it, you know, 2 days later. So number 8 is Harold and the Purple Crayon. Harold and the Purple Crayon is kind of an inoffensive movie. Now, I watched this because I grew up with the Harold and the Purple Crayon book. So I heard that there was a movie, and I was like, yeah, I want to go see this, even if it might suck. And it was fine enough, I guess. Would I go watch it again? Probably not. Are kids going to enjoy it? Probably. It's kind of one of those movies where you'd be like, it wasn't all that great. It's like, well, it was made for kids. It's like, that's kind of the way they made it, I guess. I like Zachary Levi. He's fun. But otherwise, it is kind of a ridiculous, like, it's inoffensive, really. It doesn't do anything super wrong or anything like that. It's just, it was there. forget about it. That kind of thing. Number 7 is Civil War. And Civil War, now see, this is the one that I know a lot of people are probably going to be a bit upset about. But here's the thing. I understand why people like this movie. Yeah, great. If you like this, fantastic. I have a friend who has Civil War on his top list, the top of his year. But for me, I am not really interested in going to see the U.S. in ruins. I was more interested in seeing the political landscape, what is going on in this world with the Civil War and everything like that. And we didn't get to see any of it. And they showed a map for half a second, and there's 4 different factions. And I'm like, whoa, there's way more lore here going on. There's they really went into a political, they created their own political landscape, and then decided, nah, we're not going to share any of that with any of you. We're not, no. Why is California and Texas teaming up? That is so off the walls in our political landscape. That is just insane. And then you're just gonna be like, okay, and California and Texas are teaming up, and they're going to kill the president. And you're like, why? And they're like, 'cause it's a civil war. I wanted, I heard that people were saying, this movie doesn't go into modern politics, and I like that. That's great. That's actually the reason I went and saw the movies, because I was like, I do not want to see modern politics in my movie. I want to see a Civil War movie that's not about our current country right now. I don't want to see that. But I would have liked to have been able to know what the state of the country was. What's different, I want to know the political landscape to be able to understand what's going on in this war, and I don't get that. I know a lot of other people were like it because it has the journal, it's following the journalism, going out in the battle. I could see that. Not what I wanted out of this movie, and that's why it ends up pretty low on this list. I have actually the reason why it's lower on my list, or I guess technically higher on my worst list, the reason why I like it less than stuff like Harold and the Purple Crayon and RedOne is because I actually have actual legitimate complaints about it and things that I wanted it from it that I didn't get, versus something like RedOne or Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. I'm just like, well, it kind of sucked, but it was kind of enjoyable, so whatever. So there's that. My number 6 is Y2K. I was going into this movie. It's an A24 movie. I was going into this one hoping to be able to see kind of like a horror movie where you're in the middle of Y2K, and your appliances are coming at you, and all the technologies, the world's ending because your technology is, I don't know, turning against you or something like that. And I was like, hey, that sounds like a fun idea. That sounds like a good movie, a good, enjoyable, maybe a bit trashy movie. And there was probably about 10 minutes of that in this movie. The first 20 minutes were probably setup of getting people to this party, kind of doing a little bit of character development just to make sure you get that out of the way, and it kind of 90s nostalgia. Granted, I wasn't alive in the 90s, so granted, early 2000s nostalgia, whatever. But you had a lot of that in there. Where the movie lost me was when they had all of the technology start building themselves into AI robots, and then it just became a robots are taking over the world plot, and that's where you lost me. Especially considering the fact I could not get over there being an overarching AI in all the tech. Especially considering that especially if it's anything with a microchip in it, and not all the tech had a microchip, especially in 1999. Not all that tech had microchips in it, and there was apparently this AI, and I'm like, hold up. You want me to believe there's an AI in 1999, and it can take 1999 tech and build fully functioning robots out of household tech items? No, nope, you lost me. I could not stretch my my disbelief that far. It pulled me at like, sure, let's get some crazy wild, like I was hoping for like a house, you're locked into a house and I don't know, something a little bit more smaller scale. But then now it basically became AIs are taking over the world and you got to do some stuff. And it's like people they don't really care about the actual logic of it, and it's like, okay, you lost the plot for me. I'm out. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Number 5 on my list is Lord of the Rings: War of the Rohirrim. This one is another one I'm sure people do really enjoy. I was just really bored the entire movie. The interesting parts were like the stuff with Helm Hammerhand. But like I wasn't invested in the world. I wasn't invested in the characters. I don't think there really was any characters. Just meaning in the sense that like I don't think people were really fleshed out all that well to really be actual characters rather than just plot devices or dialogue machines, I guess. However you really want to describe it. But War of the Rohirrim, I was just bored. Like some people behind me, they left the theater to go get I think they went to get some refills or something like that, and they came back. And I was just like, and I saw him walk out, and I was like, yeah, you probably could do that. Not gonna miss much. They came back, and I'm like, yeah, you didn't miss much. Like it just really wasn't. It just wasn't interesting. I'm not a huge fan of the anime style either, so that definitely didn't help its case either. And it didn't look like Lord of the Rings. It didn't really feel like Lord of the Rings. Like the Helm Hammerhand stuff, like that was interesting. There's like you end up seeing like the death of Helm Hammerhand, and that was cool. You had some pretty cool lore stuff, but like outside of that, I didn't care. It just wasn't interesting. I didn't really care. I think Wolf. It was a little bit interesting, some of the stuff Wolf was doing, but yeah, just most of it whatever. Number 4, Craven the Hunter. Unfortunately, I never watched Madam Web. I felt the only thing I kind of regret this year is I didn't go see Madam Web. Now that was because I heard it was really bad, and so I decided not to go see it. Not like I was really all that interested in seeing it anyways, but I probably didn't start really going in and watching a ton of movies till like April or so, where I actually started like just watching more movies. And it wasn't until I want to say August or so where I actually started going to see movies because they were bad. There's actually a couple movies, actually Craven the Hunter and another one on this list a little bit further up, I went to see because they are bad. But unfortunately, I didn't go see Madam Web, so that's not going to be on this list at all. But Craven the Hunter, I went and saw it. As far as being a more memorable film, I definitely think Craven the Hunter wins over War of the Rohirrim. I barely am even remembering what happened in War of the Rohirrim. But also, Craven the Hunter is just a bad movie. Just overall, the action was fine at best. You turned Craven the Hunter from a supervillain to a vigilante, I guess, an animal rights activist, and I don't think you didn't have to do that to make an interesting Craven the Hunter movie. Take it like if you took Spider-Man 2, for instance, and you just did that without Spider-Man, I think you could have a great story, especially from the point of view of Craven the Hunter. You have Craven the Hunter, who is a hunter. He lives for the hunt, and he's bored of hunting animals, so he hunts humans. And he's gotten bored of hunting humans on this little island. So what does he do? He goes to a major city to hunt humans. Finds a bunch of these super-powered supervillains, and is like, yeah, oh yeah, there's a hunt right there. And then he goes and he hunts down some of these supervillains, ending with probably maybe something like the Rhino. That sounds like such a more interesting movie Like you just have him go and you have him hunt down a couple of these like supervillains in New York City. Like he gets the message out that they're being hunted, so that they know, so that they can put up a fight. So he's not blindsiding, because like you got to have some good sport in it, right? Like that could have been so much more interesting if he was a villain. But in this movie, he is more just a guy who doesn't like people hunting animals. So he's a hunter. I'll be honest, I don't think we really actually see him hunting people. He definitely doesn't live for the hunt. He claims to be a hunter and everything, but he just goes after and kills bad guys. And even though he is the best trekker in the world, which he has mentioned he has, he requires a lawyer to track down people. Yeah, it's definitely is not a Craven movie, really. It doesn't have that like the iconic look to him at all. And yeah, so I think as a like for the character, it just doesn't really work. The dialogue is kind of atrocious in it. The acting isn't great either. So it's just all around just a bad movie. Not really something worth watching at all. Number 3 is Blink Twice. This movie actually wasn't terrible until the end. This is probably the only movie that actually gets. It's probably the only movie I've watched where I'm like where the ending actually ruined the movie for me. Blink Twice. If you haven't heard about it, it's a movie where there's like a billionaire CEO guy who's on an island, and he has a bunch of people who's on the island, and the women like keep forgetting like what's like they start to realize that there's something going on, and that there's some like they're not remembering everything that's going on, and it's like, well, what could it be? And it's kind of what you expect it to be, sexual violence and everything like that, which that in and of itself isn't the part that ruins it, because like that's kind of just what you expect. So like the whole mystery behind what is going on, you just kind of want to know, like kind of like what is going on. You kind of know what's going on. You kind of assume, because it's like, what else would people make other people like if you're a bunch of people who are just there on an island to have fun? It's like, well, what would you do? Why would you have people like, unless you're killing people, which people don't really start disappearing. I mean, there's like maybe 1 or 2 people who kind of disappear, but if people aren't like constantly disappearing, you're like, okay, either sexual assault's happening or people are getting killed, and people aren't dying, so kind of be the other one. But the reason why it's so low on the list is because at the end, the main character, woman who's main character, ends up doing the exact same thing back to the billionaire, because she was kind of like the girl that the billionaire was with, right? There's like a bunch of other guys, but she ended up reversing, just doing the exact same thing to him, and then on top of that, she ends up stealing his company, using the thing. So she uses the mind wiping thing to control him, and then steals his company on top of that. And I never really just hate stories that have like revenge thrillers, movies that are like are like women's revenge on men, that end with the woman taking everything from the man and stealing his company. It's usually, especially people, ones that have like, oh, she's married to a CEO, and then she steals the company, and then it ends where she's running the company, even if she has 0 qualifications, and basically stealing the CEO position, or stealing the company and owning it and everything like that, even though they have 0 qualifications for it. So I think the other one that I'm thinking of is The Other Woman. If you've seen it, I think you probably know what I mean. But I just get pissed off by that. I'm just like, excuse me, you are applauding the theft of a company by using manipulation tactics that are unethical, and you want me to think that you are the good guy and that you won, I'm sorry. Like, that just, no. Praising that and being like, yeah, she won and she's the CEO now and she's doing the exact same thing to him because he deserves it. It's like, that makes you just as bad, if not worse than him. Especially considering that the company that he was CEO of, he built, and she did not. And she's probably going to run into the ground because she probably does not have the qualifications. Second worst movie of the year. Joker Folie à Deux. Sure. Yes. Joker 2. Yeah. Made a video about this one earlier this year when it came out because I was pissed off. Yes. But I watched Joker 2 and I was like, okay, you know what? This should have been a movie that was tailor-made for me. Oh yeah. It should have been great. I was, you know, I loved the first movie. Right there, I'm someone who, I'm like, I could look past the musical bit, and I was like, yeah, okay, I want to see what they're doing with the musical bit, right? I'm like, it's a weird way to go off, but I'm like, okay, I'm here for it. I like Joker. I liked what they did with it, and I'm like, yes. And even though, and you'll see this in my top 10 best movies of the year, movies that people are like kind of controversial on, I tend to really like them. Movies like Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, or even any of like Zack Snyder's DC movies. I love those. And like those are movies that a lot of people are like really put off by. But I really like those movies. And I'm like, yeah. So a Joker movie that is kind of pissing people off, I am here for it. I watched the movie. And you know, I heard that like it was like half like the back half was a courtroom drama. And I see that they're starting to go through the courtroom drama. And I look at my watch and I'm like, it's halfway over already? Like nothing has happened. And the entire movie, there's no point to this movie. Like I went and saw the movie and I was going to text some friends to be like whether you should go see this one or not. And I was like, don't even bother. Like this movie, pointless. It's actually better if you don't see this movie because it might actually ruin the first movie. They take the entire second half to try to retell the story of the first movie to try to change what happened in the first movie to try to like recontextualize it, to try to like basically it's tearing the first movie down. It spends its entire time dismantling the first movie. Its entire focus is on the first movie. It wants to say, hey, no, that first movie, the one that you really liked, well, you're a sucker for liking that movie. Here's all the reasons you shouldn't like it. Oh yeah, Joker, he's not actually Joker. He's the guy who inspired Joker. Lovely, great, fantastic. No, yeah, it was a waste of time. It was a complete waste of time. And it tries to destroy. I still like the original Joker movie. I'm not someone who gets a movie ruined by a sequel, because you can still watch the original movie and everything's great. But they changed the character of the Joker, and Harley Quinn is just there to manipulate Joker, and everything just sucks. It all just sucks. Joker Folie à Deux is the second worst movie of the year because number one, the first worst movie of the year is Borderlands. Easy peasy. This is a Guardians of the Galaxy style movie where you have like a band of people who come together, found family and everything. It's supposed to be a comedy. I say supposed to be because it didn't make me laugh even once. There was one particular joke where I was like, it was mildly amusing. And that was it. All of the jokes were pretty unfunny. The story wasn't all that great. Very predictable, actually. And believe me, if I'm predicting your story, there's a problem. If I'm starting to think about where this is going, there's usually a problem in that. Big problem. And yeah, so, and this is actually, I actually went and saw this movie because I was like, hey, you know what? I could use some bad movies this year. On my, like, because I was like, hey, you know, I should probably do a worst movies of the year, you know, because I was doing a ranking, and like some of the worst movies were like not that bad. I wanted to rant. I wanted some movies to rant about. I wanted to have a bad time. Borderlands delivered. It was definitely a boring movie that I don't even hardly remember the plot of. It was very unfunny. Nothing had stakes, and it was probably does everything bad. Everything bad. At least Joker Foil Ado had good cinematography. Blink Twice was decently good. Was good for throughout the most of the movie. Craven the Hunter still has some memorable moments because of how weird and stupid it was. Y2K had an interesting premise. Civil War could have been great if it was a little bit better. Harold and the Purple Crayon was inoffensive. RedOne was entertaining enough, I guess. And Godzilla Kong the New Empire had some entertaining battle sequences. And Borderlands had nothing going for it. Absolutely nothing. So those are my top 10 worst movies of the year. Thank you for sticking around and watching through the entire video. And if you guys want to see top 10 best movies of 2024, I suggest you stick around, hit that subscribe button, and maybe you guys can check that out. And I will also be doing a video on movies I am looking forward to in 2025. Not all for the best of reasons, but there is a decently long list of that. So I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.